We've all heard it. We've heard we need a blog. We've heard that we need to be a content creating machine. But the question is, do we really know why? And do we know how to do it effectively? Well, today I have got a special treat for you. My guest is Nissar Ahamed, and he is going to take us through content marketing tips, tools, and strategies so that you can get your A game on when it comes to content marketing. Episode 84 starts right now. Hey there, welcome to the Lora Shipman Show. We hang out here weekly to talk about things like social media, entrepreneurship, marketing, tools, strategies, tips, and it all starts right now. Hey there, before we get started with this show, I just want to share my passion with you. I love teaching people just like you how to master social media for business, breaking it down into easy to consume and easy to execute steps so that you can see immediate results. So whether you want to start a social media consultancy or grow your brand's presence on social media, I can help. I can help you get started and master all the things that you need to know. So I want you to go over to my website. It is filled with resources, tools, tips, and courses. Visit lorashipman.com. That's LORA shipman.com to get all the goods. Now, you ready for the show? I know I am. Let's get started. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. I'm excited that you are here today because I have Nissar Ahamed with me, and we're going to talk all things content marketing, blogging, everything that you really should be doing for your business. I'm not going to steal his thunder, so I'm going to have Nissar chime in right now. Welcome to the show.
Lora, thanks for having me on the show. I'm very excited to be here and share my ideas on the subject.
I'm excited that you're here too, because I know you're going to share a ton of great insight with us. So tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, who you are, all of those great things.
Sure, no problem. So I am the founder and publisher, CEO of careermetis.com. It's an online publication dedicated to helping job seekers and freelancers. We provide actionable advice in the form of blog posts, podcasts, interviews, etc. And the goal is to help them or empower them in their search, whether they're looking for a new job or whether they're looking to get promoted, or some of them might decide to break away from the traditional 9 to 5, become freelancers. Mm-hmm. Whatever their destination, whatever their path, we have tons of content. Like myself, plus 1,100 other contributors have contributed over 2,500 articles on our site that they can choose and learn from. So that's where I am today. And the reason I'm excited about content marketing is I got here today is because of blogging and content. So when you look at internet marketing or marketing in general, there are so many different directions you can go. Mm-hmm. Media, of course, which is what you specialize in. There's ads, there is SEO and content. I decided a few years ago when I wanted to get into marketing, this is something that I resonated myself because I was the type of person who I don't really respond well to ads. I actually go to someone's website, read their content, and if I have enough trust, then I'll end up buying their product. Like I have read and watched so many Gary Vee videos, and when he released the books, I went and bought them. It was a no-brainer for me. So I put myself in the shoes of my readers and said, okay, maybe I can be on the other side and create content and provide value. So with that, I had been doing this part-time for 4 years, and recently I started doing it full-time. So it's a topic I'm very, very passionate and excited about to talk.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't like the ads. I'm like you. I love content. Like I love learning from the people that I follow. And are you expecting this to be like a new trend or something that businesses must be doing these days? Why or why not would you believe that?
I think blogging or content marketing I think it's no longer a trend. It is something that is here to stay. I mean, it's 10 plus years old. When you go to any website, whether it's a small company or business, and you see content and blog posts that that, okay, it's not a trend anymore. It is a must-have. People are doing it. And if you're listening to this, the question you have to ask yourself is why not? Because it is something that will definitely, the impact based on what you spend in terms of time and money is significant. So I don't believe it's no longer a trend. We are the adoption is very high right now, and I think every blog or every business should be looking into this.
So, like, if you were to advise a business to really jump in 2 feet all the way in with content marketing, what does that look like? Like, what format should they have? Like, they should have the blog, but would you also add other types of media onto that? And what would they be?
Yeah, great question, and that's something can get it is tricky. How do you pick your battles?
Mm.
So many different things to do, right? For example, you have a podcast, which we are talking today. I have a podcast as well.
Oh, before you go on, can you mention that podcast so our audience can maybe tune into that one too?
Yeah, absolutely. It's called the Career Insider Podcast. So where I interview people from different professions and careers. It's I look at it as another form of content as well. And then there is videos, Instagram. There's so many things to do. I would recommend choosing one, and especially blog post. And there's before I get into how to do it, is it okay if I share like 5 to 6 reasons why they should do it? Because I wanted people, it's easy to talk about the how, but I want people to really, really understand the why. They should not ignore this. Is that okay with you, Laura?
Oh, I would love that. That would be fantastic.
So I wrote this down in preparation for this interview. So I wrote about 5 to 6 reasons. Number one, people still read blogs, and that ties into a question you recently asked. Yes, everybody's on Facebook, everybody's on Instagram, there's videos, there's podcasts, but people still read blogs. You mentioned that as well. You read other people's content, myself as well. And people, it's still relevant. People, like, for example, I still read blog posts from certain people, like certain individuals I follow, even though they have videos. And it's just the nature of consumers. Like, even in something you would not expect, like e-commerce companies, even though they sell hard products, physical products, they have blogs. They talk about different types of ways their product could be used. Second thing is, it actually makes it relatively easier to be found as a business. So if you go to Google right now and search for anything, like, funny enough, if you go and search for Mexican restaurants in your city, out of the 10, I would say 5 would be blog posts.
Really?
Yeah, anyone listening to this, go try this out. Usually it is a publication from in your area that is writing about the top 10 Mexican restaurants or how to cook Mexican food. So it's funny, even something where you're actually looking, there is information. So if you are that publication, if you are that restaurant and you have that content, you have a chance to be found. So like, no matter what your business, you can type anything and you will always find that there is some type of a blog post on page one. And we did speak about ads very briefly. The third thing is, it is very cost effective. Like, I don't want to put ads down. It's Google made $100 billion last year on ads, so it is still relevant. However, the thing about ads is, let's say you're a business owner or a freelancer, you spend money on ads. It's very real time. You put an ad out there, people consume it, your spend is gone, right? And it could be costly. But when it comes to content, let's say you invest 6 hours or 5 hours or 3 hours to write a blog post, it stays on the internet forever. And just think about that for a moment. You put an ad out today, maybe it runs for a week. You write a blog post today, it actually runs forever. I was listening to an interview where someone said they wrote a blog post in 2010 and it still shows up on Google. And think about that. Like, you cannot say that you spent an ad on 2010 and that pays for itself right now. So it's cost effective. And the ROI is definitely better. Meaning, Neil Patel, who's a very famous blogger, content marketer, he did a study. He looked at about 100 plus companies that make more than $1 million a year, software companies. And he found out where they were all spending money. And he found out that number one spending, of course, is on ads, Google ads, Facebook ads, right? I mean, that's where everyone spends money, especially, the startup space. They have money to burn. That's what they would do. But on the flip side, when you study the return of investment, as content was number one, even the content was number 3 or 4 in terms of spending,
Mhm.
but what it generated was number one compared to ads. So I mean the data is there. I'm happy to share that email, the link with you, and you can definitely include that in the interview. It just shows the impact of ROI. And the last thing is, of course, which is very important, is thought leadership, right? You start writing content on that subject, people start following you, people start connecting that idea with you, and eventually you build your brand. And if you look at some of the names I'm going to mention, like for example, Tim Ferriss started as a blog, right? Tim Ferriss, like, now he's an author. He does so many things. He's a successful podcaster too. Atomic Habits is one of the most talked about books in 2018, 2019. James Clear started a blog many years ago. He was consistent. He spoke about one subject, and then he wrote a book. A lot of the people know about the book, but it started many years ago. Another blog I used to follow was called The Art of Manliness, and they started a brand and books. There's so many examples I can give, but they all started writing because it was easier to write a blog post than write a book. And once they've built an audience, then they started doing things like speaking, books, and so on. So I can talk about this. I mean, I've given so many different benefits. If you look at it, like there's 6 to 7 benefits compared to any other channel. Uh,
Mhm.
Blogging and content really, really has significant value. This is why I find it really valuable. I build my career around it. Yeah.
That's great. So I have like so many questions. I totally believe in blogging, but I have so many questions about like the execution of it, how to give it legs, the right way to formulate that blog so it does appeal to the masses. I almost don't even know where to start because I do have so many questions about it. But I guess the first thing would be, and I think you already mentioned this, like who's using blogging right now? Is it small companies? Is it solopreneurs? Is it large companies? Is it everybody? Like who should really be paying attention to this blogging world?
I think the answer is all of the above.
Okay.
You could be a 2 to 3 person plumbing company in Toronto or New York, and you want to get the word out. And there's a story of this. One of the most famous stories in the content marketing community is a pool company. And during the recession, they were a small team. Instead of spending money on ads and yellow pages, they actually spend money on content. And they started getting ranking really high and started getting actually customers because of that blog. And I would also share that story. And now the one of the founders of that company, Marcus Sheridan, is actually a well-known speaker. Um, so so it could be any business, like who would have thought pool company doing content, right? You would think about solopreneurs, freelancers, marketers, but it is applicable to everywhere, to even big companies. If you look at major companies like Johnson and Johnson has um, a blog called Baby Center. It's actually for parents, and actually it's actually builds thought leadership for that for that audience. So the answer is all of the above. It's something people should not be ignoring, because I was reading somewhere that, don't quote me, don't quote me on the number, but it's high. It's about 60 to 70% of all purchases online start on Google, meaning they're searching for something before they even decide to buy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you could enter that conversation and influence them with good content.
I think that's really important. People are more savvy these days. They are doing their research before they make a purchase, and they want to learn. They want to, read people's thoughts on things, and they want to go to the experts who use the product or service that they're considering. So it makes so much sense. So I guess my question is, like, how, if somebody's listening right now and they know they've got to do a blog, and they keep hearing this over and over again, you got to do a blog, what are the first steps that they take? What should they be doing to get that blog underway?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I would recommend, like, a lot of people get into the habit of hiring an agency and starting to write.
Mm-hmm.
I would recommend, if you're the owner of a business, it is one skill that you need to be good at. of course, speaking communication, but writing as well. And I'm a good example. I am not a writer. I started my career in sales, and I forced myself to write content, and it's a skill that you can acquire, and it's not as difficult as writing fiction. So especially if you know something, let's say you're passionate about, I gave you an example of plumbing, you know everything about plumbing, you are able to convert that into content. So it basically could be a brain dump, and that's how you start with what you know. um, the second thing I would all one of the mistakes I've done, and if I could go back in time and if I were to start all over, is paying attention to SEO. And when people hear about SEO, search engine optimization, they get really overwhelmed or scared.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I would say is keep it simple. Like let's say your topic is, um, you're a plumbing company, and people may not be looking for plumbing company right away, but they want to know the things associated with plumbing. So what you can do is you could use free tools like answerthepublic.com or Google Trends, and type in what you want to be found for. Like, it's important to know, you have to start with what you want to be known for. So for me, I chose career advice for my business. And for you, it could be something else. It could be plumbing in Toronto, plumbing in Canada, whatever it is. And then find all the different topics. Thanks to the internet, there's so many free tools. You can actually find topics to write about, right? So, for example, it could be plumbing mistakes not to make, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or before you hire a plumber, here's how much you should pay, and all that. So the pool company I gave you an example of, Marcus Sheridan, the first top blog post they wrote was how much you should pay for installing a pool, right? That's a question people ask.
Mm-hmm.
And that blog post itself generated so much traffic and leads for them. So that's where they can start. They can write. And if you have a website, WordPress, Wix, everything gives you the tool to write content. So what I would say is, don't get too discouraged by, it's not complex anymore. You don't need a developer to set up a website. You can set up WordPress. It's relatively easy. Start writing it. The costs are low, and write some content. And if you that's the first place to start.
So how long, so you get in there and you start writing, whether it's on Wix or WordPress or whatever. How long should a blog post be? Is there a rule of thumb of how many words you should be shooting for?
Yeah, this is really, if you're asking from how long the blog post should be to stay on the first page of Google.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For that particular question, right now they have done studies and they say it's over 2,000 words, right? So the longer the content, the better. What that is really saying is, the longer content means there's more depth in the content.
Okay.
There's more information. For example, you're in the social media space, and one of the good examples of social media blogs is Buffer. Every year writes an article called "What is the best time to post on social media?" They go to each social media account, and it's about 2,000 to 3,000 words, and they always rank higher. It's a question people always ask, right? That is to rank on page one. But if you write 1,000 to 2,000 words and you have multiple topics, that's also a good number, in my opinion, because you want people to read your content, spend time on it, and the long form is always better.
Okay.
Helpful,
Mm.
always helpful.
So always with how you're going to help your end user, how they can impact their lives immediately. Like, they take that information from you, put it into action, and they're seeing results as a result of. Okay, so my question then becomes, so if we think like 2,000 words is good, long form is better, how often? I mean, is that a daily thing, a weekly thing, a monthly thing? What makes the most sense here?
It's a good question. It really depends. It depends, but also at the same time, I would also say volume does. I talked about quality, right, a moment ago, but quantity also plays a picture. HubSpot did a study, and they found out that companies who post 3 to 4 times a week get 4 times as much leads and traffic as to anyone else.
Wow.
Um, Now, I know it sounds a little bit, what do you call, scary,
Yeah.
intimidating. But if you think about it, like a lot of businesses spend money on ads, right? So you're
Mhm.
taking that money and time and investing in your business. And I talked about the whole point of a blog post being permanent. So yes, you can put out an ad, pay someone to put out an ad for you. But if you spend time on this, you are able to get maximized. And one thing people will find, anyone who's been doing this for a while, is initially it is challenging, but as you do more of it, you will start getting better at it. And maybe even you can hire someone to write for you as your business grows. So I'm not saying that you should start with 3 or 4, especially if you are starting with 0. Start with 1 a week, right? Then grow it to 2 a week, 3 a week, 4 a week. And by the time you get to that number, you will be able to, you will see a significant increase. And this is not me saying it, this is data by companies like HubSpot and Neil Patel, who have actually looked at hundreds and millions of blogs and say, this is the magic, this is the number.
That's okay. So now that I'm glad you said start with 1 a week and then like gradually ramp up to maybe 4 times a week or something like that. And then when you were saying that, I'm thinking of the entrepreneur and I'm thinking of the solopreneur, people who may not have a staff. Does it make sense that we should outsource something like this, or should we really stay in control of our content? How do you feel about that?
I would say initially you should, if you are let's talk from a strictly solopreneur entrepreneur point of view. People like me, people like you,
Hmm.
I would say initially do it yourself. Uh,
Okay.
there's a reason, because then you are able to create your own voice, the way your own brand, your own voice. And as you grow, as you become more successful, then you can start hiring and outsourcing. Then there's many other things to blogging that I haven't talked about, like SEO and outreach. Eventually, you will need to outsource, right? So and that is okay, but initially you should create your own voice, because here's the thing: if you hire someone right away but you yourself do not know what they should write about, then you're at a disadvantage. But if you have done 10, 20 articles over the course of 6 months, then you can easily hire someone on Upwork and say, hey, this is what I did, this is what is successful, just do this. So it's like then you can get to a point where teaching them. So to
Okay.
summarize, start with yourself, then outsource in the future.
Okay, I like that. And then, so to go from there, so we know we're writing a blog and we know we want to start off at least once a week. Are there certain elements or ingredients that every blog should have in order for it to be successful? And successful can look like two different things. It could be successful in the eyes of your audience or successful in the eyes of search engine optimization. And my guess is you want to hit a combination of those two things together, and what elements would bring us there, if you have any insight on that.
Yeah, a great question. And I'll break it into 2 different buckets, right? So
Okay.
one is quality, the second is SEO. Um, with quality, I would say write you focused content, meaning you're speaking to you, meaning the person reading it, they should feel like it's for them. So let's say I'm writing an article about how to write a resume. It would be you focused, like people like that. The second thing I would always say is, when you write, I made the mistake of doing a lot of quantity over quality. The question you need to ask before publishing is, if I read this somewhere else, will I find this useful? If it
Mm.
is not my blog and I went to another website and I read this, will I be will I find this useful? Will I be comfortable sharing this with my friends, um, of whatever I wrote here? So that's something I would say. Quality is always keep the reason I'm saying this is keep the audience in mind. It's not about you. It's not about your business. Yes, entrepreneurs want to grow their business. They need to make income, but the content should be for the person reading it. Um, the second part of the question is about SEO and keywords. I would recommend definitely starting there, because your topic might be what you want to write about, but the keywords could be something that people are searching for. You'd be surprised sometimes. Many times we think people are searching for this, but they're searching for something else. So there is a free tool, keyword research. Neil Patel, I don't have any affiliation, but I really respect him. He recently released a tool called Uber Suggest. You can go and type in any country, any keyword. It'll tell you how many times it's being searched per month. It'll also show you what are the top 10 posts for that keyword. It'll also tell you how many backlinks or shares those top 10 posts are getting. I Before I was doing Career Matters full time, I ran marketing for a startup. We used to pay for tools for these tools. Neil Patel is making it free, so I would highly recommend go search it out. So keep that in mind, because you might be writing. I'm trying to come up with the. It's surprising, when I was running demand generation marketing for the tech startup I was working before, we wrote on different topics, and we realized that there are some keywords we did not even think about. People are really searching a lot a month. Then we started writing on that topic, and actually those articles started performing better, and they started performing better quickly. You don't have to wait for 3 to 6 months to get a result from your content. That's a lot of people will say that. Sometimes your article, Google has got really better. You can start getting your article indexed and even ranking faster in less than a week.
Wow, really? Yeah. Just organically, without ads or anything like that?
Without ads. And I mean, when I say less than a week, I didn't talk about ranking on page one. I'm talking about getting indexed and found on Google. Every website, you should set up Google Analytics and Google Search Console. It's free. As soon as you write a blog post, the first thing you should do, it'll take 3 seconds, go to Google Search Console and search that URL. And if it is not indexed, I did this recently. Every day in the morning, I batch my blog post on Sundays, and it goes out every day. Then every day in the morning, I go and find if it is indexed and submit it to Google. And if not, I press a button. Google does it. Sometimes I've found articles indexed in less than 2 hours, right? And I want to clarify, indexed is different from ranking on page one. There's a lot of factors. I don't want people to understand that, all of a sudden you'll rank on page one. No. Meaning it is being found. Like, search engines can find that particular post.
So all you do is you go to the search engine, their search bar, and you type in the title of the URL of your blog post. So, and that will show, it'll come up in the search suggestions. And as long as you see it in that search suggestion, it's there. Is that right? Do I have that right?
Let me clarify. So there's something called Google Search Console. It used to be Google Webmaster Tools. It was very complicated in the past, meaning only webmasters could use it. Now it's very user-friendly. Anyone can use it. So you can go, let's say you have 50 articles on your search, on your site. You can take the URL, the link, and put that into Google's Search Console. It'll tell you if it has been submitted or if it has been indexed.
Oh, okay. I'm with you now. So there's a special thing called Google Search Console. Excuse me. And then is that something that you have to download, or is that something that you can just search?
It's a free login, so you can log in using your Gmail account.
Okay. That's cool. All right. I need to check that tool out because I haven't been using that. That's really cool. Okay. So I have a question about, I'm kind of bouncing back to what we were talking about a minute ago about the quantity of blog posts that you have out there. What are the benefits, if any, of having a guest blogger come and, submit a blog to, a blog post to your website? Is that, I'm getting those requests now, and I don't know if I should be saying yes or no to those.
Great question. So it's funny because a quick 30-second story here. When I started, I had no idea. Like, if you asked me 4 years ago where I'm today is where I wanted to be, I would say no, because initially I just wanted to blog. I just liked sharing my ideas. So I wrote the first 100 articles on my blog. It took me over 10, 12 months. And during that time, people started reaching out to me. And I was like, wait, is this real? Why do people want to write for me? And then I realized that that's actually a thing. People want to write on other people's websites. The benefit for them is It's obvious for them is because they get exposure to another audience, they get a link back to their site. So that's the reason they started writing. So the benefit for you or me, the owner of the blog, is like I said, it takes anywhere 3 to 5 years to 5 days. Sorry, 3 to 5 hours to actually write a blog post beginning to end. But if someone else submits a guest post to you, it only takes me 15 to 20 minutes to edit and publish it. So I can multiply myself. And that's when things changed for me, like 6, 12 months into my journey. But I realized, wait a minute, maybe I should be doing more of this. So from that point, I took a back seat. I became like the editor, founder, publisher, and I've been nurturing the community and growing my blog. And now my blog gets, I think, about 1,000 to 2,000% of what the traffic what I used to get by myself, because there's much more content. Before I was doing 3 posts a week. Now I'm doing about last month we did about 80 to 90 posts last month, but 90% of them as guest bloggers, right? So there's so much value to accepting guest blogging because you're able to save time as an owner. Plus, you're able to give your audience another voice.
Yeah, I like that too. And then are there some things that you should be looking out for when you do have someone submit a blog to your site? Like, are there some best practices, some things that are red flags versus like, yeah, go for it. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we all do things for ourselves. Like someone might really love your blog, but they do want to get exposure, they do want to get traffic, they do want to get links. So let's cover that very quickly. So with that comes some bad apples. There are people who submit posts that are totally irrelevant to what you're doing. Now, I know you specialize in social media. Imagine someone gave you a guest blog on pet grooming.
Yeah.
And you're laughing, but this has happened to me. Someone gave me, and I reply back to them, have you spent time on my blog? So you do get bad apples. And also some people use that as an opportunity to link a bunch of their content. So eventually you will evolve as an editor and you can set strict guidelines saying this is what I accept, this is what I don't accept. And people will comply. And like over time, my quality standards has gone up. I've become more strict. And like initially I was accepting 500 words. And then I realized, okay, then I did some study and I found out that the longer articles perform better. So I raised it to 1,000. Now I raised it to 1,250. And I'm still getting the same volumes. And the ones that do not want to comply, that's fine. That's fine. You move on. So it's like anything else. As the editor, manager, owner of your blog, you set the rules and people will follow. And you will learn things from different types of guest bloggers. But I find it really valuable. It has helped me grow into a publication that I would have not imagined 4 years ago when I started my blog.
Interesting. Yeah, it's funny because I think I've been approached a couple of times, and the first couple of people who approached me, they weren't really on point with it when it came to what they were going to be blogging about. This last person who approached me, they're more towards entrepreneurship, which I'm fine with because a lot of the people who use my services and go to my blog in the first place anyways are entrepreneurs. So I think that's going to benefit them. So I'm going to give this a try and see how it works. Okay, so let's say. Go ahead.
One last thing. I know you're a busy entrepreneur. You have your own practice. You have your podcast, which definitely takes a lot of time. I know. That could be, let's say, I hope this is successful. That could, we spoke about the 3 to 4 blog posts a week. Imagine you are only writing one a week and you get 4 blog posts a week from guest posts. All of a sudden, your blog has that magic number we're speaking about. So I talked about this a while back. There you go. I mean, that's an easier way to get to that number.
Yeah, I love that. No, I'm glad you clarified that because it does make sense. I mean, as long as it's the quality and it goes through whatever checklist of things that you need to have to end up on your website, I think it's perfect. I think it's great advice and it gets you, like you said, to that magic number. Fantastic. So now that we have the blog set up and everything, you always hear about people monetizing their blogs. Do you have any sort of recommendations on how to go about monetizing your blogs, what you should do, maybe what you shouldn't do? and what does it actually mean to monetize? Let's start there. What does it mean to monetize a blog?
See, my monetization journey has been very organic and accidental because until recently, I actually had a full-time job and I was doing my website part-time. And the reason because I really enjoyed what I was doing, and throughout that journey, I really didn't pay that much attention, or I didn't have that much of an urgency to monetize. So all the income I was making was on sponsored posts. So that's number one way to create revenue. So what will happen is, as you become more successful, your blog gets found. Advertisers and agencies will reach out to you, and they'll say, "I like your art. I'll give you an article, plus also pay you to post that content," right? And it's actually a big business, actually. Like if you look at some very, very successful blogs out there, like for example, Search Engine Journal, um, TechCrunch, they charge thousands of dollars per sponsored content. So it's a legitimate business practice, uh, like an ad, but in the form of an article. So that's one way to do it. Another way, of course, is to create your own product. Um, like I gave you an example of Atomic Habits, Art of Manliness, Tim Ferriss. They all started creating products. In this case, books and etc. Speaking of content, like one of the largest um, websites and events for bloggers and content marketing is Content Marketing World, which happens every September. It's run by a company called Content Marketing Institute. They started as a blog. Now they have a full-blown event every year.
Wow.
That they monetize that audience to create a dedicated um, audience of people who come to that event and pay thousands of dollars, right? So there's so many companies that do that. So I've spoken about events, I've spoken about books. Some people do courses and coaching as well. And finally, if you're an entrepreneur and you have services, and that services could be anything, right? For example, I go back to the plumbing company. At the end of the day, your services is plumbing, and you could use your content, and you're using your content to monetize your business. So there are many ways to do it. Um, I just gave something where it's very, very high level. And it really depends on your business, who you are. Every business is different, but you don't have to follow the same thing that I did or someone else did. You might find that one is more interesting to you and more viable, and follow that.
What about like affiliate links? Like if you went through, like, is it ClickBank or Commission Junction? You know, one of those places that take all those ads. How do you feel about those?
So with affiliate, I something that's new to me. I'm a firm believer that if I'm recommending something, I need to have used it.
Mm-hmm.
So the only affiliate I have right now is Amazon. So I do have book reviews on my website, meaning people write book reviews. I've written book reviews. I've read that book and I'm writing a review, and there's a link to a site. And if people click and go and end up purchasing, I probably will make a commission. Um, People do make a lot of income from affiliates. Like I know, for example, I think the guy who runs Smart Passive Income, Pat Flynn,
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
most of his revenue comes from affiliates as well. And I think so it is there, but it's something I would say is, yes, it is legit. There is money that is being made.
Mm-hmm.
But a question you need to ask yourself is this something that I would promote? And
Yep.
if the answer is yes, sure.
Okay, good. Okay, good. Good. I like that. Okay, so now that we've got our blog set up and we've got a system down where we're writing and we're hitting that number of posts, how do we drive the traffic there? What is your recommendations for actually getting people on that blog?
So initially, I did things that did not scale. Like, for example, I used to go to Reddit, all these websites, and share links. Um, the challenge with those is, like, if you look at something like social media, so Facebook, the organic reach of Facebook pages has come down because Facebook wants to, it's not my theory. It's actually a well-known fact. Facebook wants to make more money on ads, right? So the noise is very much. There's a lot of noise. So social media um, works initially. It might give you a short burst of traffic, but it's always a challenge. Of course, you can always pay for content to be promoted And like Facebook and Instagram are really good at that. Like as soon as you publish something, within 5 minutes, they say, boost this post,
Right.
right?
Yes.
I'm not saying it is not effective. Once you grow bigger, I think you should consider, like once you are making, but I would say organic search and SEO. And the other thing is guest posting are two ways you can get traffic, and they should not be ignored. Organic meaning today I get 60 to 70% of my traffic from organic search, meaning Google people searching. And like I did not even put a lot of thought into it, like over the last 2 to 3 years, and it just happened. I started getting all this guest posts. I started editing and publishing them, and little did I know that some of those keywords were being searched for a lot, and they were getting traffic. Um, that's why I would always ask everyone to pay a little bit attention to that keyword research, use tools like Uber Suggest, and write. So when people write, you are able to get that traffic. um, the second thing, you did mention guest posts. So we talked about being on the other side where you're receiving guest posts.
Hmm.
I would ask people to also think about writing guest posts. One of the things I did not do in the last years, which I'm doing right now, is getting published on other websites. There are a lot of websites. There's thousands of websites that accept guest posts, including mine. But you should also go and write. Like for example, like recently, I had an article on another website. I'm hoping that would drive some traffic because people will read that article. There's a link to your article, the link to one of your blog posts. They'll drive traffic back. It also helps you with branding. All of a sudden, let's say your niche is social media. You are, of course, you have your own blog, but every website they go, they find you, and you're writing about social media. It also helps build that authority as well. So I would say these are the two most effective. The reason I say effective is I want to clarify. When I say effective, in the short term, you might not feel like you're moving the needle, but in the long term and permanently, you definitely are. Like writing posts on your website and other people's website, um, highly valuable.
So I remember back in the day, like a long time ago, you would go ahead and submit your blog URL to a directory, like all these directories and stuff. Is that still a thing? Is that a practice that we do now or not so much?
The last time I checked, I think Stumble Upon was one of those directories. I think they shut down.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that just gives you an example of directories are a little bit hard because some directories are considered spammy or black hat SEO by Google. Um, and so I personally, like, for example, if you think about Reddit, it is a forum/directory as well, but it's a hit and miss. I You might get short bursts of traffic if there are any directories left, but to get consistent, um, I'm not sure if it is feasible, and that's just my opinion and based on my experience.
Mhm.
A lot of the directories, like I said, are no longer there. Stumble Upon is gone. There are people who have actually built their blogging careers and Stumble Upon. They wrote some good articles and they got on there. They got a big boost. They captured that email, but that's not possible anymore. So um, yeah, so sometimes it is good to focus on the few things that are predictable and work, even though they don't give you short bursts of traffic.
Yeah, it's like anything. I mean, you really do have to work at what you want to be successful. I mean, it's just not going to happen overnight. It does take the work and the time and the effort for sure. So, um, uh, that was really good. You answered a lot of my questions. Is there anything that you wanted to touch on that maybe we didn't during this interview so far?
Yeah, I wanted to give. I think I've covered a lot of how tos and whys, and I just want to leave the audience with an actionable tip. Um, there's a lot of noise, and if you go and if you type in this blogging dead, you will read 1 million articles. But for every 1 million articles, there are 100 million articles that show that blogging works, right? It's a big industry. So it does work. It is not dead. So if you are convinced that it's a good thing to do, and if you're not sure how to start, I would recommend take the objective results out of it and focus on the process. One thing I did when I started is I did have a job, so I had no urgency to make income from my blog. So I needed to put a motivation for myself. So I set out a goal. I call it Nissar's 25 challenge. I decided to write 25 blog posts, and I decided not to judge the process. Like, let's say I write 25 blog posts and nothing happens, then I can make a decision. Okay, maybe blogging is not a good thing for me. But fortunately for me, after writing the 25 articles, people started reaching out to me. People started commenting. People started saying, I want to write for you. That's when I realized, okay, this is working. There is actually validity in what I'm doing. So I use this challenge for anything. Recently, I'm doing a Facebook video challenge, something that is beyond my comfort zone. So I decided to do 25 Facebook videos. And I don't really care if it performs, but after 25 videos, I will judge if it is good or not. So trust the process, fall in love with the process. Worst case scenario, after 25 articles, you will learn a new skill that you did not have 25 articles before. So that's my call to action. Come up with 25 ideas and start writing them. Don't judge the results. Anyone I mentioned here, Neil Patel, James Clear, Tim Ferriss, they did not become overnight success. They have logged in and published hundreds of articles, hundreds hundreds of hours before they became successful. So don't judge the process. Take this 25 challenge, and you know what? Feel free to share if this worked out for you. I would love to know I'm confident it has worked for me. I'm confident it'll work for you as well.
I love that challenge. I think it's a really good one, a really sound one. So if people wanted to follow you and check in with you and let them know how they're doing on their 25, where can they find you online?
Yeah, I think I'm very active on LinkedIn and social
Okay.
on LinkedIn. My username is Nissar Ahamed. They can find me there. CareerMetis.com. I'm there every day. That's my business. They can find my email. It's my first name, Nissar@CareerMetis.com. I always respond to emails, even if they are the bad ones and spammy ones. I always respond. I make it a habit, and I would love to hear. Let's if by listening to this, you are able to get your business off the ground, and I'm not expecting anything. That itself is good news for me. That itself makes me that my message resonated with someone.
That's perfect. I love it. Well, I'll make sure I put all of those links in the show notes so you guys can go ahead and check out Nissar. Nissar, this was awesome. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed our time together.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Hey there, I just want to say thank you for spending time with me here today. I know your time is super valuable, which is why I am dedicated to providing lots of usable, actionable information in the shortest amount of time possible. Before you go, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a future episode. And if you have ideas or topics you would like me to cover in an upcoming show, let me know about it in the comment section provided.